Is James Harden still a number one option? Bryce Harper hits his 300th career home run. And can Jalen Carter actually win Defensive Player of the Year? That and much, much more when we are back in 10 seconds. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics show live here on DSM-Media's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter channels. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button on the new DSM-Media-Philadelphia YouTube channel. It is the best spot to be interactive here with any of our shows, specifically right here live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning. I'm one half of your host, Dylan Davis. To my right, my co-host, Scotty. Happy September, Scotty. Feels like forever, man, but I don't know about you. But I'm ready for the summer to be behind me, man. It's been a long, hot summer. I love the Phillies. I'm ready for Red October, but just having the Phillies and baseball on every night does not fulfill my sport watching needs, man. But how are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Happy Friday. Happy September. Yeah, man. I guess now that my birthday's over, we can move on from the summer, I suppose. My birthday usually signals that the summer is over, so here we are. But yeah, I'm ready. It's the prime season of sports. That's what it's really all about. And that's what I'm happy to get back to. But happy Friday, man. I actually tweaked my neck yesterday. I didn't even tell you before the show, but like my neck is just like super stiff, man. Like I was stuck. I couldn't even sleep.
Wedding coming up, bro.
Yeah, I was having like neck spasms, bro. It's like welcome to 30.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know what that is? That's 30, brother.
Getting old, man. But yeah, gonna try to iron that out tonight. Iron that out this weekend, and hopefully come out of the weekend fresh. But
the compliments flowing from D-Rab early on.
Yeah, he's feeling
nice.
Very
it's
generous.
September, bro. Oh,
yeah,
Hunter's getting in on the compliments.
Wow, these are some good dudes in the comments, I guess. But
nice.
Yeah, man, let's talk some birds on this fine Friday. We can kind of freelance it today and have some fun, man.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be a pretty packed show. We have a lot to go over. The reason we were taking so long to go live here is we were trying to do something nice for Hunter and D-Rab and all our viewers and listeners and subscribers. So I was putting together a little YouTube video and graphic for a giveaway we want to do heading into the Eagle season to kick things off. Unfortunately, me and Scotty didn't think it through too well, and Kelly Greens are a little hard to come by at the moment. So we're going to have to tweak the giveaway a little bit. We're going to have to tweak it. Someone let me know. Is there jerseys available at the pro shop still, or are those out as well? Is it both online and at the pro shop? Let us know in the comments if you have any idea about that. But listen, man, for the first time and probably the last time until their season actually begins, and I don't even know if I'm going to want to talk about them then. For the last time, we're going to kick things off with the Philadelphia 76ers, more specifically James Harden, man, because the dude just keeps making headlines. And I don't know why we continue to give him this attention. I don't feel like giving him this attention, but it's newsworthy, right? And it's clip-worthy, and he's something else. If not anything else, he's delusional. So James Harden in a recent sit-down interview, I believe, was it with Rachel Nichols? I think so. She dropped it. She dropped
the report. It wasn't like an actual James Harden interview that we got to see it come out of.
Got it from somewhere. His
second
camp,
type
whatever,
of story we've heard like this.
Yeah. So James Harden still believes and wants to be a number one option on a winning team. That's why that's one of the reasons he wants out of Philadelphia, aside from Daryl Morey and all the other issues. It's Joel Embiid's team, and he knows that. And I'm, first of all, confused as hell where, like, he wanted to come to Philly, right?
Right.
Joel was already here, bud.
Did you, think it was going to be
confused about that. When he went to Brooklyn, even though maybe he didn't want to be in Brooklyn, he wasn't the number one option. He wasn't the number one option here in Philly. And where does he want to go, Scotty? Remind me of this real quick.
The Clippers.
Oh, who do the Clippers have?
2 players that are better than him.
Oh, shit. He is absolutely 110% delusional, dude.
Yeah.
I really don't know what else to say about the guy anymore. If you still think you're number one option after what you did in the postseason, and I don't get it, man. If you think more shot attempts, if you think the ball in your hands even more at this point of your career, at this age, with this injury concern in history recently, I don't know. It's just I have one word for it. I said it 100 times already. I'll continue to say it. He's delusional. He's toxic, and I'll throw the ball to you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the alley oop here, man, because this dude is highly delusional to say the least. And this report came out after the season. It kind of snuck out there, and James Harden wants to be the main star on his team going forward, and he feels rejuvenated after his 40-point outings in the playoffs and this and that. I discounted it. I was like, that might.
What about his 9-point outings in the playoffs?
A ton of rumors from James Harden since Christmas. So I threw that one out. I was like, there's no way he could believe that he's the number one option. Then we get it from Rachel Nichols, and I'm like, okay, well, this is starting to make sense more and more. When you look at it, man, first of all, how fake is this dude? Like, how much of a chameleon is this guy to sit here and call Joel Embiid his brother, one of his best friends, happy to help him get the MVP,
get him that watch,
that nice ass watch when he wins the MVP, like he's actually happy for him. Little did we know, James Harden's sitting there like a little jealous stepchild that wants the MVP instead of Embiid. So he's a joke in that regard. But you mentioned the games in between those 40-point outings, right?
Yeah.
I took the time to just put together the shooting numbers because
Thank you.
We'd love to hear them out loud to reiterate the point, because there's still Harden stands out there that say that Embiid did not show up in this series.
Yeah, break this down.
Embiid averaged more points than James Harden in the series, and Harden had those 40-point outings, right?
Yeah.
But in games 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7 against Boston, 16 for 63 from the field.
Interesting. What's that percentage come out to?
Shot 25.4% from the field.
All right.
But that's your number one option. Remember, he's the guy that has to go on every single night. He's your number one option. James
Harden. More shots, the better, man.
4 for 26 from the 3-point line. 15.4% shooting for three in those 4 games. Or in those 5 games, excuse me. And so when I look at that, there's just no way you can reasonably say that James Harden could ever be a number one option. And to your point, does not make sense. Wanting to go to the Clippers with that being the report. What I would ultimately say, just trade this, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm almost to that point. Like, I guess I would ask you, where are you at with that? Like, are you willing to just let this man go for nickels or a penny for a dollar, or are you willing to push it into the regular season and make this guy go through this and force his way, whether that's him getting kicked out of the NBA or whatever the case may be? Like, where are you at with that?
So I want him nowhere near this team. I don't want him at the practice facility. I don't want him near Joel, near Maxey, near anything stirring the pot more. He's already got his friends in the locker room. God forbid, who knows how this, training camp kind of plays out and preseason plays out. But what I would say is I'm not giving him to the Clippers for pennies on the dollar. He ain't he's not getting his way with me, bro. If I'm Daryl Morey.
Yeah.
I'll get rid of you for pennies on the dollar because I want you out the door, but you're going to Utah.
Detroit.
Or you're going to Sacramento. Like, I know Sacramento's a good team, but you're going somewhere he doesn't want to be.
Yeah. Small market. Yeah.
Indiana. I'll send him to Indiana.
Play with Halliburton.
I'll send you the pennies on the dollar to a place you don't want to be, right?
Yeah.
Because if you could just get rid of him, all his antics work. And you're giving him what he wants and hurting yourself at the same time. Because regardless if we want to sit here and trash James Harden and talk about his shooting percentage, and that's all true. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
The problem is he's still a better option next to Embiid and Maxey right now than those pennies on the dollar in return as far as the Sixers trying to win a chip. But no, he's not getting his way with me. I'm not sending him to either LA team if they wanted him, to Miami or to a place he would really want to be.
Yeah.
I'm sending him to like I said, East Jabib. And he's
Yeah,
going to love the
Detroit.
clubs out there. Maybe in the north, maybe in the Midwest where it's nice and chilly all the time. Something like that, man.
Yeah, no, I feel you, man. That's kind of where we got to with Ben Simmons. It's like, should we just trade? And then you ended up getting something at the trade deadline that you
Do
actually
I
like.
trade
So.
James Harden for Ben Simmons?
Oh my god, that is a story within itself, man. But yeah, I'm with you. I would be willing to trade him to somewhere he doesn't want to go, just because I don't want to lose that battle with him.
Yeah. No.
Do I
And
want
it's
it to
not even
drag
being
into
it's
the
not even
season? It's not
being
like that, but
I guess it's being spiteful, but
it
it's just
is.
about not being rolled over on. It's about
Yeah,
not being pushed over.
yeah.
You're not going to do this for the 100th time in the last 3 years and
Yeah.
continue to get away with it,
And,
especially with how you just performed for us in the biggest moments. Like,
and
let me ask you something, bro. There's a few things I want to say here, right? About
yeah,
him being a number one option and everything like that. Like, so don't get me wrong. Embiid gets the criticism for the last 4 minutes of game 6, right? When he didn't touch the ball in a 2-possession game, 1-possession game. And
yeah,
that's fairly and rightfully so on Joel Embiid's shoulders. But what about James Harden?
yeah,
The conductor,
yeah,
the quarterback, the guy who was setting everything up. Even if Joel is not necessarily making himself available, if he's not getting to his spot, if he's not asking for the ball, you are James Harden,
the point guard,
the point guard, the quarterback, the conductor.
the floor general.
All of this experience, all this basketball IQ, you make the right play, you make the right pass so many times in the regular season. You get that man the ball whether he asks for it or not, because you know that that's your team's best possession. That's your team's best option to score in crunch time. He didn't do that. And it's on
Yeah,
Joel. I'm not deflecting blame from Joel
yeah.
Embiid. But James Harden needs to get him the ball as well.
There's blame to go around
The
for
other
sure.
thing, man, in regards to him still thinking he's a number one option, whether he is or not, to me is almost irrelevant. The funny thing to me is when you brought up him acting buddy with Joel, getting him the MVP this year, jumping on his back multiple times, giving him that watch. They're best friends. They're this, they're that.
Having fun.
Man, great players find a way to play with each other.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying James Harden isn't a great player. James Harden is one of the most gifted, most talented scorers this game has ever seen. He's a top 75 player, yada, 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 yada. He's a future Hall of Famer. Got it. But great basketball players find a way to play with each other.
Yeah.
When you go to an open run, if you go to the playground to play, pickup with your boys, 5-on-5, blah, 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 blah. If you put the 5 best dudes together on the floor, whether 2 or 3 of them think they should shoot the ball more, whether they think they should have the ball in their hands more, they're still going to dominate whoever's against them because they're just the 5 best players on the floor. Harden and Embiid should be able to mesh, man. And they did. They meshed pretty damn well. But when it came down to it in crunch time and you hear the off the floor stuff, there should never be any of that.
Yeah, no. It just constant like finger pointing, and it started as soon as the season ending. It started with Doc Rivers, right? And mind you, Doc was an issue. We all can understand that elephant in the room, but to sit there and point the finger at your head coach as soon as the season's over, like, come on. I mean, it's just dramatic. It's like
he was showing them up in the huddle with the
like,
playoffs as well.
That's what I'm saying, and it's like Doc Rivers could have thrown him under the bus after the series, right? Like, and he didn't. So, like, that's the stuff I'm looking at, man. I think you're spot on with your thoughts. Yeah, we're gonna see how it plays out. Once again, touching on this, it's like the never-ending Sixers summer of like disgust. One last thing I wanted to ask you regarding this this miserable team right now. If you had to pick a starting lineup right now, who would it be? Like if you had to go into the season with this roster, and you just have
Harden, like Harden sitting out. We're not playing Harden.
Sitting out. I'll give you mine. Give you mine to start. Go ahead. If you got one, go ahead.
Maxey and Melton, Tobias, Tucker, Embiid, I guess.
So I would go with the same thing, except I think I'm in the Paul Reed camp, man.
Interesting. I'm not against it, especially
Over
if Nick
PJ.
Nurse can, kind of get that
Yeah.
going at the 4. So PJ coming off the bench, I like it.
The reason I say that is because I don't like PJ without like a real playmaker in the unit. Like,
Yeah,
what is he worth on offense?
right.
Like, he wasn't worth much with James Harden, who led the league in assists. So what is
Yeah.
he worth with guys that aren't great
No, I
playmakers?
definitely
But
feel you, man. His role seems greatly diminished if
without
Harden
Harden,
walks.
yeah, I feel like
Um,
they almost have to go together. Like
yeah,
I feel like
kind of.
that is
Yeah,
almost the
it's
case.
going to be interesting to see. I actually have a question for you before we move on.
Yeah,
Nick Nurse is kind of making his public tour right now,
yeah,
right?
I
He was
saw
at the
that.
Phillies game throughout the first pitch in the booth with WIP, with NBC Sports Philly and Tom McCarthy, talking to them for a little bit. He was at Eagles practice the other day. You saw him with Howie and Nick. How much can Nick Nurse kind of push this team past all the BS? How much of an upgrade do you think he can be realistically from Doc Rivers? Because we have pretty high expectations
Yeah,
if the roster played out correctly for Nick Nurse. But let's just say, even without Harden, this team is capable of winning regular season games.
yeah.
So how much do you think Nick Nurse can get out of this team if Harden continues to be a distraction?
Yeah, I mean, if Harden does this, I think we could see like a similar trajectory as we saw when Ben Simmons sat out. I think the team is good enough. Like when you have Joel Embiid,
Yeah,
you have Tobias Harris
right. And
in
ascending Tyrese Maxey.
an ascending Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris in a bigger role where he's a little bit more comfortable with the ball in his hands more. Yeah, I think they could win games, get to they're not going to be the top 3 teams in the East, right?
No.
And if the
Top
Miami
5?
Heat get Damian Lillard, then they're another team that is a
Yeah.
notch ahead of them. So I would put them at like a 4th or a 5th seed in the East, even with just James Harden sitting out. The
Yeah.
thing is with Nick Nurse, man, and it's kind of just gotten overlooked, the hiring of Nick Nurse and the difference of having a coach that can make adjustments like himself versus Doc Rivers with this Harden situation. And then all the Embiid little rumors that trickle out in between there. It's like you forget that we have a brand new head coach that should be a lot better than our last one.
And a staff, man.
Especially
A
with
really
the
good
players.
staff as well.
Yeah. You saw all those players out there at the Rico Hines camp again this summer in California. Paul Reed, D'Anthony Melton, some of the younger guys on the practice squad getting the G League squad. Excuse me, I'm getting the football talk mixed in here, but no, I like what he's doing so far. He's getting intertwined with the city. People call it pandering. Call it what you want. This is what we like.
He lives in Delco.
Yeah, this is what we like to see from the
Media.
people that come to this city and become parts of these organizations. We like to see them get intertwined with the community and the other teams in the city. So I think he's doing his job. I think he's going to be a really good coach. He's going to be able to get things out of guys like Jaden Springer, Paul Reed, that we just haven't been able to see Doc Rivers get out of these younger players.
Interested to see how they use new guys like Pat Bev and Mo Bamba. And
They
should have a role on this team, you would think, right? Like the bench wasn't good in the postseason last year. You add 2 guys that have veteran experience,
Yeah,
I think it'll work out a little bit. I still don't know why they brought back Montrezl Harrell, but it's not. Nick Nurse, he comes across to me as a guy who's not going to deal with it. Like he's not going to put up. Especially now, like he's here. He relieved Doc of his duties.
Yeah,
it's his team.
Yeah,
this is you're like it's like a new coach coming in and everybody's trying out, right? It's not to that extent, but like it's his team. So James, this ain't last year's squad. This is like if you're gonna come, if you're gonna be a distraction, if you're not gonna show up, if you're gonna leak this and leak that.
Yeah,
you can see your way out the building, bud.
Yeah,
and you're not gonna play, and you're not gonna get paid, and you're probably going to get fined. So
that's the vibe I got from Nick Nurse as soon as he came in. Honestly, I just didn't even see how they could mesh. So it's an interesting situation, but I do think Nick Nurse will be able to maximize this squad. Do I think that ends up in a championship? No. They need to get some type of replacement. They got to get some type of reinforcements for James Harden. There's guys like Kelly Oubre out there that are still free agents. Guy averaged 20 points per game last year. So still options, but it's like the Sixers are handcuffed until they do what they got to do with James Harden. What can they do?
Right. And I mean, I guess we're just past the point of moving on from Tobias Harris in this final year. Like, that's just out the window.
Well, when Daryl Morey did the crumble cookie thing, he kind of sent that sailing, right? Like, man, I don't know.
This has been a very, very underwhelming offseason and disappointing offseason so far, because we started with the checklist, man, and they went out and they got Nick Nurse, and you see these coaching
they did
hires
it so
like,
fast too.
All right, and then it's like, well, maybe we'll move Tobias for 2 pieces or whatever. Well, that's not happening. We'll either re-sign Harden or we'll have whatever open for another slot. Well, that's not happening right now. So
one thing I will say that is a positive on the Sixers, it feels like the league is backing the Sixers in this case. It feels like the league is kind of fed up with.
They have to, man. The league should be fed up.
You're gonna set a precedent
all around. Like the Damian Lillard situation.
Players all around, they're getting too much control.
Yeah, do not get me wrong. It is great, and it's one thing that makes NBA like trade deadlines and NBA offseason so interesting. The player empowerment and the play, like how they have so much say and where they go and blah 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 and who to play with. It's great at times.
Yeah,
but it's too much. Like the Damian Lillard thing is too much. James Harden, man, when you have the track record James Harden has, there has to be a stop at the end of the road.
Yeah, I agree. And now you even got it going so far as rumors about Giannis. Now, what is he next offseason? Is he going to force his way out of Milwaukee? Like, it's just crazy, and it's never going to stop. If
not just force his way out of Milwaukee, is he going to say, "I'm only playing for this team"?
Like, I'm only playing for the Lakers after LeBron.
You can't do that. I'm only playing for the Knicks. The league cannot allow that to happen. We talked about it before. I'll wrap it up by saying, you allow shit like that to happen, it takes every other team that was interested out of the running, and it allows Miami to just bring their offer down the basement level because there's no competition for Dame. And Dame ain't going to play for Portland, so it's the same thing. Either trade him for pennies on the dollar or you get nothing, and he's not playing.
For Damian Lillard.
I'm one of those people that says, well, then he won't play, and he's getting fined. Bottom line.
We won't play. What do the Portland Trailblazers have to lose? It doesn't matter what they get back for Damian Lillard in reality. Like, for the future, it does. But for right now, what does it matter? They're not competing for a championship. They're just trying to develop their young talent. So whatever, sit out. And, James Harden, it's a little bit different because the Sixers are trying to contend. But if it comes down to it, is what it is. That's a funny comment from Brett, though. That's a good call, man. Ant is bigger than the market in Minnesota, so that's interesting.
No, for sure. But,
enough of this talk, man. Enough.
Yeah. We're gonna move on here. We're gonna hit a quick little pit stop here, and we're gonna hit with the Phillies for a second.
Yes, sir.
And then we'll wrap up with our Eagles conversations. But the Phillies obviously go 7-2 on their 9-game homestand. Lose a heartbreaker on Thursday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon. Excuse me. They're down again, right? Trey Turner comes up, hits a 3-run home run, puts them up 1. The next inning, they go down to 1. The next inning, Bryce Harper hits his 300th career home run, loses his mind, dugout loses its mind, stadium loses its mind, and then Craig Kimbrell can't get the job done in the top of the 9th, which it was just a very, very weird, strange game, man. It's disappointing in the fashion that they lost this game, the fashion that they lost the Giants game, right? When Bryce hit that home run to tie it in the 9th. Yeah. So they had a great homestand, but in the way that they lost their only 2 games still hurts and stings a little bit because of the way it all went down and the big moments that occurred, and it wasn't quite enough. Kimbrell strikes out the first batter, but the ball skits away from Garrett Stubbs, so the runner gets on first base anyway to lead off the inning. That's kind of what kickstarted things. It was rough, man. I'll start it off by asking you this.
Yeah.
I admire the way this team fights, and they're never out of a game with this lineup. And I admire that over this homestand, it was always like a running joke where they get down 1-0. Oh, the game can start now. The Phillies are losing, and they come back. But at what point do we have to stop playing from behind? It's funny. It's cool. It's dramatic. but you continue to get behind to, let's say, the Atlanta Braves or the Los Angeles Dodgers. You get down 2-0 in the top of the first, bottom of the first. You're going to have a lot steeper hole to dig yourself out of than being down by 2 to the Angels. I'm not saying it's a problem that's going to keep occurring. It's just we're having a conversation.
Yeah.
What happened over this series? Well, they were down a lot, and it was cool, and it was exciting. I'd like that to stop. I'd like a 3-0 lead in the second inning sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I feel you, man. Getting off to a fast start is just something Philly teams, right? I don't know. It goes across the city, but what I would say, man, maybe just maybe it's them playing down to their competition in this case, right? It's the Giants who are kind of in a downward spiral. You got the Cardinals who are just not playing very good baseball, and then of course the Angels who are kind of shutting guys down at this point in the season and stuff after they just said they were going for a push. So maybe they're playing
down.
Maybe they're playing down to their competition. Yeah, don't shut Ohtani down.
Well, I mean, he's probably leaving after
that dude is a machine, but
he's probably leaving after this year anyway, so it's not like they really have a reason to shut him down,
the most out of him and sell tickets. Yeah. But yeah, no, I feel you. Maybe it's them playing down to their competition, but maybe it's just them like needing to feel the pressure. Yeah. Like, if you know what I mean by that, like it's getting down 1 or 2, and then obviously Bryce, he's shown that he has ice cold veins. He can operate under pressure, but how do you operate when the pressure's not there? That's the question. The good thing about the playoffs, the games start with pressure. So you don't have to
I'm not worried about it at all. I just wanted to have the conversation of
it is a conversation.
Let's kind of put a pin in that, right? Let's stop that because like you said, you can get away with it against these teams, but let's not make it a trend. Let's not continue to be down by 2 in the first inning.
You know, are the Angels, you can educate me on this one. Are the Angels a high-powered offense? It seems like they can hit the ball. Like they got guys that can hit the
ball.
Like
the Angels offense, and they're beat up, man. That's the interesting thing. They still have a formidable offense right now, but they're missing Mike Trout, right? They're missing their third baseman in Anthony Rendon. They had traded for C.J. Cron with Randall Grichuk. C.J. Cron's hurt. They're missing a couple different pieces, right? I think Max Stassi's still out. He can hit a little bit as well. So they are a high-powered offense. And it's why for a little bit, even with Trout missing time, but you had Cron and whatever, they made this little surge right before the deadline. And that's why they kind of bought at the deadline.
Yeah.
But then Trout goes back down again. Their pitching is not good. Their bullpen's a disaster. They don't really have a number one Ohtani, but he's now got a UCL tear, so he's not pitching anymore. Well, that's their Achilles heel. They have no pitching.
That's what I was going to ask you is, you know, you look back at this series, specifically against the Angels, you give up, over 7 runs in the game before Wednesday, in the Tuesday matchup. You give up 10 in the next matchup. Is there any concern with the bullpen, what you saw from Kimbrel at the end of that game?
Yeah, it's not concern. I think you saw it at times last year, right? But it's a little bit of wear and tear. It's just something to keep an eye on. It's like Kimbrel is he's leaking a little bit. He's thrown a lot of innings, man. He's tried to close a lot of games. And it was only his 3rd or 4th blown save this year. So it hurts. Obviously, I would have thrown Kimbrel in that situation. You're trying to win the game. You're trying to end the homestand on a positive note. It's a 1-run ball game. You throw your best guy out there. You throw your closer out there. But at some point, like, Topper is huge. We know this with the lineup and the 6-man pitching rotation. Topper's huge with getting these guys to the finish line, getting them ready to go for the postseason. Yeah. Well, he's going to have to start to do that with his bullpen a little bit. And as Phillies fans on a night-to-night basis, it might get a little frustrating because there's going to be games where we're down 1 or we're up 1 late, and here comes, God, I don't even know why he's on the team, but a Dylan Covey, right? A Gregory Soto when it should be Kimbrel or Alvarado. And maybe we lose that game. And I know we're in a race for the 1 wild card spot, so you're not really in a position to just throw some games late, but you also want to get Craig Kimbrel to the postseason ready to go and have that arm and legs behind him. Yeah. So it's definitely it's not a concern in terms of they're falling apart, they're bad or whatever. It's just I need them to be ready and healthy for the postseason.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I was just wondering if there's any concern there, but once
Yeah.
again, could be also playing down to your competition. Once again, whatever the
Yeah.
case may be, you have a little bit of run support in that second game
I'll
against
tell
the
you what
Angels. You
though.
let up a little bit.
So the waiver wire just had passed, right? And you were talking about the Angels, and they put a bunch of dudes on the waiver wire, and a couple were picked up by the Guardians, who baseball's an anomaly, man. The Guardians were 1 or 2 games out of first place at the deadline, and they sold. They traded a lot of quality players.
Guys.
Now they're like 5 or 6 games out. They're on a losing streak, and they're picking up guys on waivers to try to help them make a push. It's crazy.
Stuff,
I would have loved. I was hoping the Phillies would try to go after Randall Grichuk. You just saw him firsthand when they trade. He's a good player in Colorado. He's got a good field. He's got good legs. He was hitting over 300, but when he got to LA, I think the average is down a little bit since he's been there. But you saw him, couple doubles, home run or two. The dude can hit for power. I'm not I'm not saying if he came here, he would start. If you put Martian Rojas out there, he definitely could start for you. The rosters expand today. You get an extra pitcher and an extra fielder on your roster for the postseason. Ranger will take that void for the pitcher. They'll let someone else go down to triple or double A. But like everyone's so hyped because Pache's coming back. Come on, man. I'm trying to win a World Series. Would I rather have Randall Grichuk on this bench, or would I rather have Christian Pache on this bench?
Yeah.
Come on. I don't think and you don't pay Randall Grichuk. He went through waivers. The Angels have to pay Randall Grichuk.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a
I
good
don't know
idea,
why
man.
they didn't make a move like that. The roster's fine as is. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that's a guy that I would have liked. Like if they traded for Randall Grichuk at the deadline, we would have loved it.
Yeah.
So now you could have did it for free, basically.
Yeah.
And we would have loved it. But
so is he still in waivers or?
Yeah, but I want to say that now that it's passed through, I think that's over. I think I could be wrong. So I don't know the rules, but yeah, I don't think I don't know.
So how does that work in baseball? Like waivers, like does he just go back? Like are they eligible to sign him to like one of their lower level club? Like or does he just get picked up by another team?
They might have a certain date through September that they could pick someone up off of waivers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. But yeah, so Phil's come back tonight. They're on the road against the Brewers. Zach Wheeler, I believe, is throwing against Freddie Peralta from Milwaukee. Big series, man, because the rest of the way, they're 15 games over 500. The rest of the way, they play 2 series against teams with a winning record. You got the Brewers this weekend, and they got the Braves. That's it. They got the Marlins, who are about 500, and everybody else is below. It's time to take advantage of the schedule, but it's also time to go and extend your lead in the wild card by beating a formidable opponent on the road in the Milwaukee Brewers. So we'll see, man. It should be a fun weekend. Brett's saying if they clear waivers, they can be sent down without also offering their release.
Interesting. Gotcha.
Interesting. Brett's Brett, you're our new research man.
The dictionary,
he's
man.
answered a couple questions we've had live on the air, Scotty. So, Brett, whenever you're in here, man, we got a question. Just drop.
I would say
maybe Brett would know if there's Kelly Green jerseys at the pro shop still.
Yeah, let us know, Brett. Let us know. if you're hip, man.
We're trying to do a giveaway. Unfortunately, didn't think about it, until now. So Kelly Greens might be off the table. But you guys comment, let us know. You would think people would still want an Eagles jersey, even if it's not Kelly Green, right? Midnight green, black, whatever.
I do wonder, would they want an Eagles jersey, like a midnight green or a black, or would they want Kelly Green gear or merchandise? I do wonder that, but I don't know. I'd probably lean jersey. I don't know. The Kelly Green thing, man,
Kelly,
I got my Kelly Green jersey, so I guess I'm settled. So I don't know. It's not a craze for me, but I do get it. It is going to be fire whenever they wear those uniforms this season, for the first time in forever. So I don't know, man. It's interesting.
If they're not available at the pro shop, we're asked out of Kelly Green because it ain't nowhere on any online website right now.
Yeah, literally.
Guys, I can hit up the H gate for you. Maybe we want to go the unofficial route,
Hey, you do what you got to do, man. Those jerseys are only like $30.
Off Kelly Green, but Kelly Green nonetheless, right? No,
a little Nike patch, like kind of.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. Maybe we'll put a poll out on Twitter and TikTok, Scotty. Would people rather have a midnight green jersey or Kelly Green gear? I saw on the Pro Shop website they have like the Kelly Green, AJ, and Jalen like jerseys.
Yeah.
Maybe we buy two. Maybe you get both. Maybe you get two.
Maybe you get the duo, the dynamic duo.
So
man, that's a
maybe
good
that'll
one.
make up for the lack of jersey, right?
Yeah. Let us know though. Let us know what you guys would like. That's what it's about at the end of the day. And for new subscribers.
Interesting.
Being sold on Market Street.
That's a bunch of dudes that went to the Pro Shop and just bought like 8, 9, 10, 11.
Sell them for $10 more.
Yep, $20 more. There you go.
Hey, any way you can profit, my man. I appreciate it.
Speaking of the Birds, man, let's get to them.
Yes, sir.
All right. I know you had a lot of thoughts on your mind last night, a lot of topics we can discuss. So I love it. No, I love it. We got a little over a week until the Eagles kick off. Less than a week until the NFL kicks off on Thursday night with the Chiefs and the Lions. So where do you want to start? Where does Scotty want to start with the Eagles today?
Yeah, man, I actually wanted to start with the Eagles and kind of where they are from a depth perspective. And I'm not actually not looking at the depth, but actually who you would want as your starters as of right now. Now, obviously, we know the offensive line, they're settled. The quarterback, wide receivers, they're settled. Tight ends settled. Corners settled, right? But then everything else, edge rushers settled.
In the margins.
The margins, right? I'm looking at the defensive tackle spot.
Mm-hmm.
Who should be starting there? I'm looking at the linebacker spot. Who should be starting there? And then I'm looking at the safety spot and who should be starting there. You can throw the running backs in there as well, although I think we both agree on who should start there. But let's take a look at the safety department. And I'm just curious, off the top of your head, and I don't think there's any wrong answer right now, given the state of the safety department. But who would be your starting safety for the Philadelphia Eagles if we were to go into game day tomorrow?
So Reed Blankenship has obviously secured one of the two spots. And I think they're going to have 3 safeties out there a lot too, but I'll give you the 2. So Reed is one, was here last year, got a starting role last year when CGJ went down. And has thrived so far in camp and preseason. It seems like really didn't even have to play in the preseason. He's got that spot locked up, right? So Reed Blankenship's one. For the time being, I'll go with Terrell Edmunds. I'll go with the guy with more experience. I'll go with the veteran guy. Played in a formidable Pittsburgh Steelers unit, right? So he knows how to play that position pretty well. I would start him at first if you're running, and then Sidney Brown would be my next guy up. And if Terrell Edmunds is struggling or Reed Blankenship, something goes wrong there, it is a short leash for me because I have loved what I've seen out of Sidney Brown. The thing is, it's going to be interesting when we get to another position where I give the rookie the nod, but I don't give this rookie the nod yet. Just in terms of where he was selected. I'm not saying he's a great ball player, not saying he shouldn't start at some point, but you kind of give the veteran some leadway over the mid-round draft pick compared to the higher draft pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I do agree with that, honestly, because like you said, you want to throw some type of experience back there with Reed Blankenship.
And I'm not sold on Edmunds either. I just would give it time.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't show anything in preseason. He only played minimally, but he didn't show anything spectacular. Didn't hear any reports about Edmunds looking spectacular at practice. But I'd also think there is a case of, us looking at our rookies and looking at them as like shiny new toys. And when you get like just the, middling veteran, it's just not that big of a deal to us, right? Like we are kind of spoiled in what we have on the Eagles roster. So like a guy like Edmonds isn't going to get the appreciation that maybe he should.
I
Now,
I
to your
agree
point,
wholeheartedly with this.
I would give a short leash on him
Yeah.
as well, man. If you can get Sidney Brown, if you get an excuse to get him in the game,
Yeah.
I would love to see it. And like you said, you've been hearing nothing but good things coming out of camp about him.
Absolutely. And like I said,
Reed
they're probably
Blankenship
going to
shouted
have
him
3
out.
safeties on the field at times as well.
Yeah, he's
But
gonna
I
play.
wholeheartedly agree with Brett's point. A rookie starting day one in the secondary is much more dangerous and vulnerable than a rookie starting on the defensive line to start. Yeah, no, and I agree with this. Sidney Brown has been going off in preseason and in camp. I'm a huge fan of his. I just wouldn't give him the start day one yet.
Things speed up.
Justin Evans, does he have a case at all over Terrell Edmonds? Probably not. More of a rotational special teams kind of piece.
Yeah, he's more of that. Like, it's almost like, now that you say that, he seems like he's more of like a coverage safety. Whereas I feel like Sidney Brown and Edmonds are more of those guys that come up, they get to the ball quick, they'll pop you. Like I look at those guys in that fashion. So I almost wonder if Evans would be that third safety, and it would take Sidney Brown overtaking Edmonds to get into that type of almost like sub linebacker type of role where he can roam and kind of like what Malcolm Jenkins did. That's what I look at the safety spot in our secondary a lot as a lot of the time. So I could see it. I know our one buddy George, he's real high on Justin Evans, thinks he could get a starting spot, but I do think it'll ultimately be Edmonds and Reed Blankenship to start the season. Reed, I wanted to point it out. Reed had some good words about Sidney Brown as well. Said he came in, it immediately looked like a professional. So it speaks to the maturity of Sidney Brown. We talk, the comments in there talking about rookie in the secondary. Yeah, that's what's exciting. We just haven't had a player
put a shoulder pad into your gut.
We haven't had a player like that, man. That's what's exciting about Sidney Brown. So yeah, I want to get him on the field as much as possible while also protecting ourselves at the same time, right? If he makes,
he just seems like a gamer. He just seems like,
Who's that safety out of San Fran? He blew up. Is it Hufunga or something like that?
I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
he's kind of getting overrated after one season, but he's getting rated in like top 10 safeties of the league, top 5 safeties of the league. He had a great season.
They tend to do that with guys in San Fran.
Yeah, they do that, right? With guys in San Fran with a ton of talent around them, but in the Eagles, that's not okay. But I'm looking at him, and like that could be a model for Sidney Brown. And maybe I'm just thinking because the hair and the hard hitting too, but no, that could be a model you follow with Sidney Brown, where this guy could be all over the field in his first year. And if he's up for it, I think you throw him into the fire for sure. But I would still start the veteran over him. Doesn't mean he's not going to get snaps.
I agree.
What about the defensive tackle spot? Who are your 2 starting defensive tackles here?
Yeah, buddy. All right. There's no way the Eagles do this. I know this, but this is personally what I would do, right?
Yeah.
So I've said this to you since he was drafted. I said this to you before training camp started, and I'm going to continue to say Jalen Carter is a day one starter. And I know starting doesn't mean all that much on this defensive line with the way that they rotate these guys in and out and they share snap counts and everything like that. But Jalen Carter, to me, should play the most out of any of the defensive tackles on this unit. He's the youngest. He's the baddest. He's the most tough. He can play 3 downs. He can stop the run. He can get after the quarterback. He needs to play from day one.
Yeah.
And then I'm starting Jordan Davis next to him.
Woo! Okay, so I was like, they might start Jalen Carter day one. So what's he mean they won't do it?
Because Jordan Davis is that run stopper.
Yeah.
What are running down, Scotty? First, second down.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to keep Fletch ready. I'm going to keep him healthy. I'm going to keep him ready to go. And then I'm going to put him and Jalen next to each other, right? I'm going to put him and Milton Williams next to each other, right? With Reddick and Smith or Reddick and Sweat coming off the edges. They're going to start Fletcher Cox. I just know they're going to do it.
Yeah.
But I would start Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, and I would keep the veteran as polished and ready to go on third downs and pass rushing plays.
Yeah, I think Fletcher Cox has earned that, right? Like, let me just go pin my ears back on passing downs and rush the quarterback and take a little bit off my legs after all these years, man. And you got your young dogs in there in the middle, man. Let them run free. Let them go. Use them up. They're young. Use them while they're young, man. I'm with you. That's actually funny. I love that you picked those two to start for you, because I think I wrote mine down here. And I think I might have just been thinking of what the Eagles will do versus what I want. And I'm with you. I want Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter
because
to start.
it doesn't make sense to play Jordan Davis on third down.
Right. Exactly.
Unless it's like 3rd and 1, right? 3rd and 2.
Dylan, I want to see what Jordan Davis looks like as a pass rusher too. I don't want him to be just, singled it or pigeonholed into a run stopper, because he played on the Georgia Bulldogs defense where he got to play a lot. He got to rush the quarterback. So I want to see what he looks like as a pass rusher too. So yeah, man, I'm with you. I like that. I like that, man. But they're going to start Fletcher Cox.
I know it's going to be Jordan Davis and Fletcher Cox. You have to start Jordan Davis. He is that run stopper. And like we said, on first and second downs, you're going to need that. Whatever. But to me, I said, like, Fletcher Cox is another year older. He has not been, I still love to have him. He's a leader on this team. He can still get after the quarterback. But he's not Fletcher Cox of 2017, of 2016. He's not that guy anymore, man. Jalen Carter is arguably the best player in this draft class. He's a monster. He's a freak. He needs to start day one. Again, maybe it doesn't mean all that much. Maybe Fletcher Cox plays first and second down, and then Jalen Carter plays the next 4 snaps. Then, you know what I mean? It might not mean all that much, but to me, it does a little bit, because I want my best unit out there to start the game.
Yeah,
because it sends a message.
He needs to start. I agree, man. It's like a message that you send to him. You send it to the rest of the league that this guy is ready, right? And he is. We know he is at this point. There's guys on the team that are calling him the next Aaron Donald. And this is from Rashad Penny, that played in the same division as Aaron Donald. So I don't take that lightly. Yeah, man, I would start him from day one. When you're looking at the linebacker, who's your other starting linebacker? If you had to pick one, I feel like this one is like pick your.
Yeah, I'll go with Zach Cunningham at the moment.
Veteran.
I think he's the veteran. It's the same thing. You give the veteran the nod here to start. And to be fair, he looks like he has something left in the tank.
He looked pretty good. Yeah.
So I like him, especially when you have Nakobe Dean, right? You need that veteran presence on the field with him that not only can he learn from, but that can help him out and help him with the position live in game, and not just on the sideline after a mistake. Hey man, come here, let me show you this.
Yeah.
No, on the field, he's your backup quarterback to Nakobe Dean. He's your backup Mike linebacker, and he can help him figure things out as they go. But yeah, I would definitely
do you think that they'll start 3 linebackers, or do you think that they'll just start 3 safeties rather? I think they would go 3 corners or 3 safeties before they would go 3 linebackers.
I think so too.
Passing league.
It's just when you look at your talent on that side of the ball, why would I start the lesser talented group when I can start 3 or 4 corners, or what? Because you're gonna have Maddox. You should have Maddox on the field as well. So
exactly.
You're gonna have 3 corners, right? So and not to mention, listen, I don't want to see Hassan Reddick dropping back into coverage. I know Nolan Smith can do it a little bit. I don't want to see it a ton, but if you have Dean and Cunningham or Ellis and whatever the case is out there as 2. You still have, if you have Smith and Reddick out there on the edges.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
they're kind of a linebacker, right?
Yeah,
at the time.
Yeah, they can at least operate like that for a down or 2, right, at a time.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I do agree with you there. I wanted to ask, how confident are you? Because this is a question that was brought to me off the air in a group chat that I'm in. How confident are you that Mariota, if put into a similar situation, we're not talking season-ending Hurts injury. I'm not even putting that into the air, because the season's over if that happens. But if you get yourself into a situation like last season where Hurts maybe misses a game or 2, right? Maybe he twists his ankle or something, misses a game. Do you feel that Mariota, with this surrounding roster, It's going to look a lot different with him playing with AJ and Smitty.
Thank you.
Versus playing with those backups in the preseason. So are you confident that he could get you a game or two?
So I disagree with Hunter here. You answered the question for me. And Brett's not a fan of him. He can't throw an out route. Listen, I'm not necessarily disagreeing. And I get it. He's played against second and third stringers in the preseason as well. But he hasn't played with AJ Brown.
Yeah.
He hasn't played with Devontae Smith, and he hasn't played with Dallas Goedert. And he hasn't played behind the starting offensive line. And can they fix his overthrows? Can they fix his – no. But A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith can make things a hell of a lot easier than Deion Kane and Devin Allen and whoever the hell else was making things. So he's going to play tougher competition because he's going to go from backups to starting one defenses. But he's also going to have one of the maybe the best supporting cast in the National Football League around him. So, again, man, it's however you want to look at it. If Jalen goes down and we're in a run-in with Dallas for the division, it's going to hurt, and I don't know if I trust it, whatever. But if it's anything worse than that, the season doesn't matter anyway because this isn't Nick Foles and that team in that year. They're not going to win with a backup quarterback again. And if it's a short-term thing and they're 10-1 when it happens, running away with the 1 seed, and they lose a game or two, well, all right.
I honestly, I do believe, like, if it came down to that situation, I do believe the Eagles would just go run heavy. They would simplify the game plan. They would allow Marcus Mariota to go out there and put his body on the line a lot more than what Jalen Hurts would in the run game, from what I would imagine is coming this season. So I think they could just go completely run heavy, do a lot of run option, a lot of read option type of plays, and get him out on the edge, right? Get him easy dump offs to Goddard in space, easy dump offs to AJ in space. When you have that much talent, there's going to be easier ways to do things, at least for one game or two. So I think they could get away with it, but man, the reason I really wanted to ask this question, because I was watching that quarterback show last night on Netflix, man. And he's one of the quarterbacks on there from last season on Atlanta. And they showed the one game where dude was like upside down going to the ground and like threw the ball up in the air for an interception. And I was like, it really brought me to Hunter's comment here. I want to give him a bone. I want to say, like, he's a better fitting quarterback than, like, Gardner Minshew. Like, I do want to say that, and I do kind of believe it because
I'll ask you this.
But the bonehead plays.
He looks bad. Maybe he's even regressed from last year, and he was losing the job at the end of the year anyway. They stunk. But if he can win games with the Atlanta Falcons,
that's the other side of it.
Now, again, if he's playing the Kansas City week or the Buffalo week,
San Fran.
But if he can win games with Atlanta and they're playing the Rams or they're playing the Bucks or whatever, they're playing the Cardinals late in the year. Yeah, I think you have you're still going to be heavy. Still going to be heavy favorites at that point.
Oh man, no, I tend to agree with you. One last question on Mariota, then I want to talk about Jalen Carter again. In the show here. Would you take Marcus Mariota or Brock Purdy as your starting quarterback? Not for the future, just for this season.
Yeah. All right. Listen, I know we discussed the NFC West and we ripped Purdy pretty good. I would take Brock Purdy. Come on. I'm not going to be that much of an asshole. I would take Brock Purdy over Marcus.
I had that. You said the Kansas City, the Buffalo game. I thought about the San Fran game, and I was like, Mariota versus Purdy. Interesting. But no, I agree with you, man. My last question for today to end this fine Friday, man, Eagles talk. Jalen Carter, what is it going to take for him to win Defensive Rookie of the Year? There's been sporting outlets, Fox Sports. I've seen a couple different sporting outlets pick him as their Defensive Rookie of the Year. And what does that take? Is it like double-digit sacks? Like what? Like I can give you kind of recent history. But honestly, there hasn't been a defensive tackle that's won the Defensive Rookie of the Year since Aaron Donald in 2014.
I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you numbers.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to our original conversation. What it's going to take for him to have a chance at winning it is to get the snap counts that he deserves. That's what it's going to take.
Yeah.
We get into the numbers. Does he need, as a defensive tackle, it's going to be a lot more difficult than an edge rusher. So, but Javon Hargrave had 10. So what if he's more dominant? What if he has 14 and a half sacks? What if he has, 13 and a half sacks plus 2 or 3 forced fumbles and deflections and quarterback hits and blah, blah, blah. It's not going to be easy, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think he's going to win it because of the position, right? Edge rusher is just going to get that attention compared to his numbers. But I think he has a chance to be in the conversation as a rookie if he's given the opportunity to play as much as he should. I know we love our rotation. It's what makes our defensive line dangerous. He needs to play the most. Him and Hassan Reddick should be playing the most above everybody else because they're that talented, they're that dominant, and they're that much of a game record. And I know I'm talking about a guy in Hassan Reddick who's done it, and I'm holding him in the same breath as a guy who I haven't seen play a snap of regular season football. Maybe things don't work out. But it's going to be a cold day in hell when I buy that, okay? This kid is that dominant, man. He's that for real.
No.
He needs to be given the opportunity to start and play the most above Fletcher Cox, above Milton Williams, above Jordan Davis, above a Josh Sweat, who I really like Josh Sweat. He needs to play more snaps than Josh Sweat gets on the edge. It's that simple.
I would love to go back and see, Hargrave's snap count compared to, the guys last year, right? Now, obviously, you brought in Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph. Those guys are out of the equation, but you still had Milton Williams, you still had Fletcher Cox, you still had Jordan Davis. So I'm interested on those snap splits for Hargrave to eclipse that double-digit sack total. Versus how much he's actually on the field. Because that is a great point as far as like a detractor, which could detract Jalen Carter from having a chance at this defensive player of the year or defensive rookie of the year, excuse me.
Right.
Milton Williams, right? Like he's a guy that I'm excited
about.
Oh, well,
time out.
Yeah.
Are we talking rookie of the year or player of the year?
We're talking about rookie of the year. Excuse me. Defensive rookie of the year.
Rewind. I put the title as player of the year because I think he's that good.
Okay.
Rookie of the year.
Okay. Holy shit.
I think he's going to win it.
Yeah. The rookie of the year.
Dominant. I think he has it. He's going to have a case to be like top 6 in defensive player of the year.
Okay. I got you. Because I'm not even disagreeing. Like, if you were saying that about defensive rookie of the year, I do get it because Milton Williams is a guy that deserves snaps, right? Fletcher Cox obviously is going to get snaps. Jordan Davis is going to get snaps, but Jalen Carter needs to lead the way for that group in order to do what he needs to do in order to get this award. Now, when you look at I was just looking at defensive rookies of the year. It's funny, man. It's hard to imagine him winning defensive player of the year when you think about
going to win that.
You think about Bosa with 18 and a half sacks last year.
You're gonna have TJ Watt. You're gonna have Nick Bosa. You're gonna have
Reddick
Aaron
might
Donald,
have more sacks.
Right. There's a lot of different scenarios. But my point is, what if he could get 12 and a half sacks?
If he gets 12 and a half sacks,
as
he's
a defensive tackle.
Rookie of the year. Yeah.
As defensive tackle.
He gets 12 and a half sacks. Yeah, you're right. He's going to be in the conversation for defensive player of the year.
Right, because 12 and a half
guys are
middle.
Doing, but...
Right, you're going to have a corner or two like Sauce in the conversation. Yeah. There's probably a couple other edge rushers that are going to be in the conversation, but when you get down to it, I think he is dominant enough, is going to be dominant enough to at least play himself into the conversation like Micah Parsons did his rookie year. Again, edge rusher, linebacker versus defensive tackle. A lot easier, a lot more opportunities to get after the quarterback. But if he gets 12 and Micah Parsons has 15, what's more impressive?
It's a defensive tackle, yeah.
Right? He has more sacks, but one's doing it as an edge rusher and a free rusher.
Yeah.
And one's a defensive tackle and a rookie.
Exactly.
So,
no, man. You look through history, you say 12 sacks. Like, if he can get to that mark, bro, he's a lock for defensive rookie of the year. I mean, the only other guy I'm even looking at off the top of my head, you got Will Anderson down in Houston, right, coming off the edge. He's a guy that could get a lot of looks at the quarterback this year, but I don't know. I think Jalen Carter, he's in the prime position if he gets the snaps on this team that will be contending as well. I think he's going to get a lot of looks in that department. You look back, the last defensive tackle to win Defensive Rookie of the Year was Aaron Donald in 2014.
Shocker.
9 sacks, 47 tackles, 2 forced fumbles.
Right.
That's more than realistic for Jalen Carter. The year before that, 2013, was Sheldon Richardson on the New York Jets. 78 tackles, so he got a hell of a lot of tackles. 3.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble as a defensive tackle. So you got options on how you can approach it as well. If he's a run-stuffing force in his first year, he could have a chance at it. Going back to 21, right? You mentioned Micah Parsons. 64 tackles, 13 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. He wins Defensive Rookie of the Year. 2020, you have Chase Young, another edge rusher. 32 tackles, 7.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries. Defensive Rookie of the Year. 2019, this is the last one I'm going to reference because it's the only other relevant one on the defensive line, was Nick Bosa. 32 tackles, 9 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception. Nonetheless, this is what we're looking at for Jalen Carter to have a chance of winning Defensive Rookie of the Year. If he hits 10 sacks, it's his. I mean, he's running away with that award, I think. If he hits 10 sacks, 12 sacks, I think you're right. He could be in that top 5 to 6 conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. Because, like you said, Mika comes out and gets 15. That's not as impressive. Now, Nick Bosa goes out there and gets 20 sacks this year, then we'll go through that conversation.
TJ Watt breaks the record this year.
Look at what we're talking about right now, though, with Jalen Carter, right? This is a guy we just added to the Super Bowl, the NFC champions, right? Mm-hmm. This is a crazy time. That's why this season is going to be so fun. It's why I'm so excited that football is back, man.
I agree, and I'll wrap it up by saying this. Next week's going to be a hell of a lot of fun getting ready for it. But
absolutely.
Javon Hargrave had 10 last year, right?
Yeah.
Javon Hargrave is a seasoned veteran. He's a very, very damn good defensive tackle. I believe in my bones that Jalen Carter is going to be a better pass rusher today than Javon Hargrave was last year. So I know saying 12 is crazy and as a rookie, blah, blah, maybe he doesn't get all that playing time that he deserves to get those numbers. But if Javon Hargrave can get 10 because of the supporting cast around him, why should I believe that Jalen Carter can't get around double digits? Maybe it's 8.5. Maybe it's 9. Maybe it's not 10.
Yeah.
But as a rookie, I think he's definitely getting 8+.
Yeah. Should be the premier pass rushing force coming from the middle this year. Easily with this unit.
Guys, that is going to wrap up this Friday edition of the Phaithful Fanatic Show. We'll be back with you Monday morning here, 8:20 a.m., kicking off football week 1, NFL week 1. We'll be getting it ready for the Birds and all that good stuff. Final record prediction, standings, schedule, all of that.
Question.
And we're also going to be – go ahead.
Do we want to do Monday or do we want to do Tuesday, considering it's Labor Day?
Great point. Labor Day. Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday, we will be live here on the Phaithful Fanatic Show, live 8:20 a.m. Keep an eye out on the Twitter page, on the TikTok, on this YouTube channel for our giveaway. We're going to come up with something today and tomorrow, get a post out about it. Maybe it's Kelly Green merch. Maybe it's just another jersey. Kelly Green jersey seems to be out of the question at this point. For myself, for Scotty, have a great rest of